A desperate millionaire goes around the city putting up posters with the face of his missing daughter. Amidst the chaos, a street girl holds up one of the posters and shouts, "I know where to find her, Daddy." Frightened, he hesitates as he looks at the dirty, fragile young woman, doubting every word. But everything changes when she whispers the name of the daughter that only the family knew. Get ready, because this story will touch your heart. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment on where you are watching from. In the capital, where skyscrapers and haste mix, André Ricci is a respected name. Owner of the Saúde Plena chain of clinics, he leads a meticulously organized life, until the disappearance of his daughter turns his routine into chaos. In his office on the 20th floor of a commercial building on Avenida Principal, André analyzes financial reports, while his secretary, Marta, reminds him of the day's appointments. Natural light floods in through the panoramic windows, illuminating the photograph that occupies a prominent place on his desk. His daughter Carmen, a 7-year-old girl with curious eyes and an easy smile. "Mr. Ricci, it's almost 5 o'clock. Carmen isn't with the babysitter today, remember?" "She's waiting in the playground downstairs," Marta informs, interrupting his thoughts. André checks his wristwatch, surprised at how time has slipped through his fingers. "Thank you, Marta. I'll finish these reports in 15 minutes and be down." 15 minutes turn into 30. When André finally goes downstairs, the playground is empty. Carmen is not on any of the swings, slides, or benches around. His heart races. He asks the security guard, who says he saw the girl playing but didn't notice when she left. The next day, the news spreads throughout the city. Posters with Carmen's face are posted on lampposts, distributed in businesses, and shared on social media. The reward announced by André attracts a flood of calls, some genuine, most false leads. A week later, André wanders around the outskirts of the city, personally distributing posters. His eyes are sunken, marked by sleepless nights. His unshaven beard and wrinkled clothes are hardly reminiscent of the impeccable executive he once was. That's when he sees, among the people visiting a square in the outlying neighborhood, a girl who watches his movements with curiosity. She is about 10 years old, with dark, disheveled hair and simple but clean clothes. Her gaze is both suspicious and too experienced for her age. When their eyes meet, the girl does not look away. On the contrary, she maintains eye contact as if assessing an opponent. André approaches, showing one of the posters. "Have you seen this girl? She's my daughter." "Carmen!" The girl examines the photo in silence. Then, in a low but firm voice, she answers, "Maybe." Something in the girl's evasive answer and direct gaze sparks a spark of hope in André. "Maybe? What does that mean? Have you seen her? Please, if you know anything—" "My name is Sarah." The girl ignores his questions. "And I need your help finding my mother before I talk about your daughter." André blinks, confused by the unexpected negotiation. "Your mother?" "Elisa." "My mother," Sarah continues, her voice taking on an urgent tone. "She disappeared. If you help me find out what happened to her, I'll tell you what I know about the Guy." Girl on the poster. There's something about Sarah's determination that gives André pause. Is she just a manipulative child seeking attention? Or does she really know something about Carmen? "How can I trust that you have any information about my daughter?" he asks. Sarah reaches into her torn coat pocket and pulls out something that makes André's heart skip a beat. A bracelet of colorful beads with a small butterfly pendant. The gift he had given Carmen for her last birthday. "Where did you get that?" André tries to grab the bracelet, but Sarah is quick and hides it again. "First my mother, then her daughter," Sarah repeats, her dark eyes reflecting a hardness no child should carry. André looks around at the simple but busy square, at the old buildings that hold stories from generations ago. This girl could be his only real clue. He decides to play along. "Okay, I'll help you find your mother, but I need more information about her." Sarah nods, still suspicious. "She worked at a hospital or a clinic. Something like that. She was a nurse, I think. She disappeared 3 years ago." 3 years? André arches his eyebrows. "And where have you been all this time?" Sarah's expression hardens even further. Surviving. For the first time, Andre really looks at the girl, not just as a potential source of information, but as a child. Her calloused hands, her defensive posture, her eyes that seem to have seen too much. He feels a lump in his throat as he imagines what fate his Carmen might be facing at that moment. "Come with me, Sarah, let's talk better. Somewhere else." Sarah takes a step back, alarm clear in her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere with you. We'll meet tomorrow right here at 10 How. Bring information about my mother, Elisa Silco." Before Andre can respond, Sarah turns her back and runs, disappearing into the alleys of the historic neighborhood with the agility of someone who knows every alley and shortcut. That night, in his luxurious, empty apartment, Andre begins a search through the records of his chain of clinics. Elisa Silco. The name is unfamiliar to him, but her company employs hundreds of people. He goes through lists of current and former employees, looking for any mention of that name. It was almost dawn when she found it, not in the clinic records, but in a folder of archived resumes. Elisa Silco had applied for a nursing technician position at Saúde Plena 3 years ago. She was interviewed but never hired. There was a note in the system. Candidate did not attend second interview. Andre frowns. This doesn't seem like enough to establish a connection between Elisa, Sarah, and Carmen's disappearance. But it's a start. The next day, at 10 a.m., sharp, Andre waits for Sarah in the square. Minutes pass and he begins to fear that the girl will not show up. Was he naive to believe the word of a street child? Maybe the bracelet was just a stroke of luck, something found by chance. He's about to give up when he sees Sarah approaching cautiously, observing her surroundings like a small wild animal alert for predators. "Did you find anything about my mother?" she asks without preamble, keeping a safe distance. Andre hesitates. The little he has learned doesn't seem relevant, but he needs to keep the dialogue open. "Elisa applied for a job at one of my clinics 3 years ago. She was interviewed once, but didn't show up for the second interview." Sarah narrows her eyes. "That's it. For now, but I can look further. I have resources, contacts, I can really help, Sarah, but I need you to tell me what you know about Carmen." The girl seems to weigh her options, distrust fighting against the need for help. Finally, she gives a small nod. "Carmen is alive. I saw her 2 days ago, but I can't say where, not yet." The statement hits Andre like a wave, bringing relief and anxiety at the same time. Carmen is alive. His daughter is alive. "I need to see you, Sarah, please." Sarah shakes her head. "It's not that simple. There are people involved. Dangerous people." "What people? Who has my daughter?" Andre takes a step forward, his voice rising with desperation and anger. Sarah instinctively recoils, her body tensing like a rope about to snap. "If you want to see your daughter again, we need to do it my way. Find out more about my mother. Find out why she really disappeared. Then we can talk about Carmen." The girl walks away a few steps, then stops and looks back. "Same time tomorrow, and bring something to eat. I'm tired of digging through trash cans." As he watches Sarah walk away, Andre feels a conflicting emotion rise in his chest. Hope mixed with a disturbing foreboding. What secrets connect Elisa Silco, his missing daughter, and this girl with the ancient gaze? What remains to be discovered goes far beyond a simple missing person case. It is as if he is standing on the edge of an abyss, looking into deep waters whose currents he can barely imagine. The day dawns with a light drizzle that blurs the city's contours. Andre didn't sleep. He spent the early hours of the morning immersed in digital files, calling former employees and searching social media. The name Elisa Silco yielded few results. An outdated profile with only 3 photos, no activity in the last 3 years, and scattered mentions in lists of graduates from a nursing technical course in the East Zone. While preparing a sandwich to take to Sarah, Andre receives a call from his assistant, Marta, informing him that the police have no news about Carmen. "Mr. Ricci, we are all worried. You need to rest a little," she says with genuine concern. "I can't, Marta, I have a lead. Something concrete, finally." He hesitates before continuing. "I need you to do a thorough search on a certain Elisa Silco. She was a candidate for a nursing technician position about 3 years ago, I want everything. Who interviewed her, why she wasn't hired, address, phone number, anything. Elisa Silco. Marta looks confused. And how does this relate to Carmen? I don't know for sure yet, but it's the first real clue I've got. Andre hangs up before he has to elaborate further. In the square, the grey sky amplifies the melancholy of the trees that bend under the weight of the humidity. Andre waits, the package with the sandwich and a juice in his hands. This time, Sarah doesn't make him wait long. She emerges from around a corner, more cautious than the day before. Her eyes quickly scan the surroundings before approaching. Andre notices that she is wearing the same clothes, but her hair is damp, as if she had recently washed it. I brought you something to eat, he offers, holding out the package. Sarah accepts it without words, opening it immediately. She eats with the voracity of someone who doesn't know when her next meal will be, but keeps a close eye on Andre's movements. I found very little about your mother, he says when she finishes her sandwich. But I'm looking for more. Do you have any pictures of her? Anything that might help me? Sarah hesitates. Then, with slow movements, she takes a small, folded and crumpled piece of paper from the inside pocket of her coat. It is an old photograph, worn at the edges. A young woman with a discreet smile and dark eyes like Sarah's, hugging the girl who appears to be about 6 years old in the photo. Is this your mother? Elisa. Andre examines the photo carefully. Something about the woman's face seems vaguely familiar, but he can't quite place it. Sarah nods. It was taken on my birthday, the last one we spent together. What about your father? Andre asks, handing back the photograph. The girl shrugs. I never knew him. Mum said he was an important man, too busy for us. There is a palpable bitterness in her voice. Andre feels a tightness in his chest. Sarah, how long exactly have you been on the streets? I'm not exactly on the streets, she replies, mimicking his tone with a hint of sarcasm. I stay here and there, sometimes with people my mother knows, sometimes in shelters when it's really cold. I've learned to get by. The executive observes the girl's small but calloused hands, her bitten nails, her eyes that carry more experience than a child should be allowed to have. He remembers Carmen, protected in her world of privilege, and feels a deep guilt. Where did you see my daughter, Sarah? Please, I need to find her. Your daughter is in a place, a kind of shelter, but it's not official. It's near the river in the south side, a place where they take lost children, or children who run away from home. She pauses. I can't just take you there. The people who take care of her, they have connections. If they find out I said anything, I'll never see my mother again. What do you mean? You think your mother is alive, that she's there too? Sarah looks away. I don't know. All I know is that the people in this place were looking for her too. And if I help you, maybe you can help me find out the truth. Andre tries to process the fragmented information. Sarah, if Carmen is in this place, we have to notify the police immediately. No. The answer is so abrupt and emphatic that Andre is surprised. There are police involved, or so they say. If you call the police, both Carmen and any chance of finding my mother will be gone forever. A shiver runs down Andre's spine. How can I believe all this? How can I be sure that you really saw Carmen? Sarah stares at him for a long moment. She has a small scar on her right eyebrow, and she has a teddy bear named Tobias that she won't let go of for anything, not even to sleep. Andre feels his breath catch in his throat. These details were not on any posters, in any news stories. The scar was recent, the result of a fall from a bicycle weeks before the disappearance. And Tobias was Carmen's imaginary best friend, whose name she had given to her teddy bear. Who are these people, Sarah? Who has my daughter? Her voice trembles. It's a network. People who take children off the streets, or lure them away from their parents. Some are adopted by families who pay to avoid bureaucracy. Others work in family homes as unregistered employees. The most beautiful or talented go abroad. Andre feels sick. The thought of Carmen, his Carmen, in the hands of these people is unbearable. How do you know all this? Sarah gives a sad smile. I lived there for a while before I ran away. That's where I saw your daughter. She arrived a few days ago. And why weren't you taken like the other children? They were preparing me. They wanted to send me out of the country, but I fled before that. I've been in hiding ever since. I go back every now and then to see the other children, to bring them food when I can. Andre watches the girl with melancholic admiration. So young and already a survivor, a protector. Sarah, I'll help you, I promise. We'll find your mother and we'll rescue Carmen. He hesitates. But you have to trust me completely. You have to tell me where this place is. The girl shakes her head. Not yet. First I need to know more about my mother, why she disappeared, what really happened. How can I find out more if you don't give me enough information? Andre feels his frustration growing. Start with your old partner, Sarah suggests with a naturalness that belies her age. Matteo Dubois. Andre feels like the ground has dropped out from under his feet. How do you know about Matteo? I heard conversations. Your name and his appear together on documents in the office where the children are. Matteo Dubois. A name Andre has tried to erase from his memory. They were partners in the early days of the clinic chain until ethical differences over the direction of the business led to a tumultuous separation. Matteo wanted to expand into more lucrative but questionable areas, experiments with unapproved drugs, partnerships with beauty clinics of dubious origin. Andre bought out his share 8 years ago, and since then they have maintained only a superficial cordiality at social events. What does Matteo have to do with all this? He's a doctor, a businessman, not a... Andre doesn't finish the sentence. The enormity of the suggestion seems absurd to him. I don't know exactly. I just know he's involved. And maybe he knows something about my mother, about why she disappeared. While talking to Sarah, Andre's phone vibrates. It's Marta. He answers, still watching the girl. Mr. Ricci, I found some information about Elisa Silco. The interesting thing is that her interview was conducted personally by Dr. Matteo Dubois, not by HR, as would be standard procedure. And there is a strange note in the system, forwarded to special project. I couldn't figure out which project it refers to. Andre shivers. Thank you, Marta. Keep looking. He hangs up and looks at Sarah. Your mother was interviewed by Matteo Dubois and apparently referred to some special project. Sarah blinks, absorbing the information. I need to know what this project is and why my mother disappeared afterwards. I'll find out, Sarah, but we need a plan. We can't just confront Matteo without proof, and we can't leave Carmen in that place any longer. The girl bites her lip, thoughtful. There is a way to get in there without being noticed. I know it. I can show you, but only after we find out. More about my mother. Andre slowly extends his hand, trying to show confidence. Here's what we'll do. You come with me. Stay in a safe place where no one can find you. Together we'll investigate what happened to your mother and plan how to rescue Carmen. What do you think? Sarah looks at the outstretched hand suspiciously. How do I know I can trust you? How do I know you won't just use what I told you and abandon me later? Because now we are connected, Sarah. You have something I desperately want, a path to my daughter. And I have the resources to find out what happened to her mother. We need each other. The girl still hesitates. Her eyes scan Andre's face, as if looking for signs of a lie. You can leave at any time if you feel I'm not doing my part, he adds. But at least you'll have a warm bed and food while we figure out the next steps. Slowly, Sarah reaches out and touches Andre's hand. It's not quite a squeeze, more of a brief contact, like the cautious touch of a wild animal assessing whether it's safe to trust. Just until we find my mother and her daughter, she says, her voice a mix of determination and vulnerability. Andre nods, feeling the weight of this promise. What began as a search for his daughter now turns into something bigger, more complex, a journey to uncover buried secrets, and perhaps redeem mistakes he didn't even know he had made. When they leave the square together, the businessman, in expensive clothes, and the girl with a slovenly appearance, they have no idea that they are being watched. From inside a dark car parked at a distance, someone records every movement, every interaction. The observer picks up the phone and dials a number. Mr. Dubois, we have a problem. Andre Ricci is with the girl Sarah. Yes, Elisa's daughter. It seems like they've been talking for days. What should I do? Andre's apartment reflects the man he was before Carmen disappeared. Organized, minimalist, with designer pieces that combine functionality and aesthetics. Sarah looks around with wide eyes, walking cautiously as if she's afraid of breaking something or leaving marks on the impeccable floor. "You can stay in the guest room," Andre says, leading her down the hall. "The bathroom is over there. There are clean towels in the closet." Sarah just nods, carrying with her the small worn backpack that contains her few belongings. When Andre opens the door to the guest room, the girl stops on the threshold, hesitant. "Come in. It's your space now." Sarah surveys the room, the large bed with white sheets, the heavy curtains blocking out the outside light, the small pot of succulents on the side table. A luxury hotel room would be less impersonal. "I'll let you get settled in," Andre says, sensing her discomfort. "The kitchen is stocked. Feel free to grab whatever you want. I'll make a few calls to try to find out more about this special project we mentioned." Alone in his office, Andre contemplates Carmen's photograph on the wall. "I'll find you, princess, I promise." He sighs deeply before picking up the phone. His first call is to Roberto Mendez, a former administrative employee who worked at the company during the period when Matteo was still a partner. Roberto answers after several rings, his voice sleepy. "Roberto, this is Andre Ricci. I need information about a special project that existed when Matteo Dubois was still a partner in the clinic." There's silence on the other end of the line. "Andre, it's a little late for this kind of conversation, don't you think?" "It's urgent, Roberto, related to my daughter's disappearance." Another silence, heavier. "I don't know if I can help. I left the company a long time ago. Please, any information may be helpful." Roberto sighs. "Look, I don't know the details. Dr. Matteo had several side projects that he kept separate from the main operation. One of them involved a partnership with an NGO that supposedly helped underprivileged children, the Novos Caminos Foundation." "New Paths Foundation? Never heard of it." "That's right. It was like a corporate social responsibility project, but only on paper. We rarely saw concrete results. When you bought Dr. Matteo's share, the foundation completely disassociated itself from Saúde Plena." Andre writes down the name of the foundation. "Anything else you remember? Any mention of an Elisa Silco?" "Elisa Silco? No, she's not familiar to me. But," Roberto hesitates, "there were rumors about unconventional procedures, especially related to experimental treatments. Nothing confirmed, of course, but many employees were asking to be transferred away from Dr. Matteo's projects." Andre discovers that the Novos Caminos Foundation, a former partner of the clinic, operates in a remote region. Sarah confirms that's where she saw Carmen. From that moment on, the two prepare for the confrontation. Hours later, as the sky begins to lighten, Andre realizes that he hasn't checked on Sarah since he left her in the room. Worried that the girl may have run away, he walks silently to the guest room and opens the door a crack. Sarah is asleep, curled up under the blanket despite the warmth of the room. Her face, relaxed in sleep, looks even younger, reminding Andre painfully that despite her forced maturity, she is still just a child. On the floor beside the bed are her belongings, carefully arranged as if she were ready to leave at any moment. The next morning, Andre prepares a simple breakfast. Sarah appears in the kitchen with her hair wet from the shower, wearing the same clothes as before. "Did you sleep well?" he asks, pouring juice into a glass. Sarah shrugs. "It was weird. The bed is really soft." Andre smiles slightly. "We'll buy you some clothes later, and anything else you need." The girl frowns. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity, Sarah. It's a fair exchange. You're helping me find Carmen. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable while we work together." While they eat, Andre shares what he discovered about the New Paths Foundation and its possible connection to Matteo Dubois. "I think I found the place you mentioned," he says, showing the foundation's website on his tablet. "This Fundação, Novos Caminos, is exactly in the area you described near the river." Sarah leans forward to look at the screen, her eyes quickly scanning the images. That's it. That's where she is. Your daughter. She points to a photo of a white building with a well-kept garden in front. They show this beautiful garden, but the dorms are in the back, places with no windows. Andre feels a shiver. How are we going to get Carmen out of there? First, we need proof. No one will believe the word of a street girl. Sarah's frankness is blunt but true. Andre realizes that they need a more elaborate plan than simply breaking into the place or calling the authorities. I'm going to the clinic today, he decides. I need to access old files that aren't digitized. Maybe I can find more information. About this special project and your mother. Sarah nods. What about me? You stay here, it's safe, there's food, television, books. Andre stops when he sees the girl's expression. What's wrong? I'm not going to be alone in a strange place while you go off to investigate my mother. His eyes shine with determination. I'm going with you. Andre hesitates. Bringing an obviously vulnerable child to his clinic would raise questions. On the other hand, leaving her alone could mean losing her. Okay, but we'll have to make up a story. Maybe you could be my niece. Who's spending the day with me? Sarah gives a half smile. People believe what they want to believe, especially when it's the boss doing the talking. Andre couldn't help but chuckle a little. This girl has insight beyond her years. 2 hours later, they arrive at the administrative headquarters of the Saúde Plena chain. Sarah, now wearing new clothes she bought in a hurry at a department store on the way, looks around with restrained curiosity. Her posture has changed subtly, shoulders straighter, chin raised, as if she is consciously trying to appear like a normal middle-class kid. Marta, Andre's secretary, raises her eyebrows when she sees him with the girl, but is too professional to comment beyond a polite, "Good morning, Mr. Ricci. Who is your companion?" "This is Sarah, my niece. She's spending the day with me," Andre answers quickly. "Marta, I need access to the physical files from the period when Matteo was still a partner, specifically anything related to the New Paths Foundation." Marta frowns. "New Paths Foundation? I think those documents are in the archive in the basement." In the elevator on the way to the archives, Sarah mutters, "Your secretary didn't believe her niece's story." Andre sighs. "Marta has worked with me for 15 years. She knows I don't have any brothers." "Then why did you pretend to believe?" "Because she trusts me, and she knows I'm desperate to find Carmen." The archive is a large room in the basement, with metal shelves organized in corridors and boxes labeled by date and department. Marta guides them to the section corresponding to the period when Matteo was a partner. These documents should have been digitized years ago, but Dr. Matteo has always insisted on keeping some records only on paper. She gives Andre a meaningful look. "I'll leave you to it. If you need any help, I'll be in my office." When Marta leaves, Sarah immediately starts browsing the shelves, reading the labels. What exactly are we looking for? Any mention of the foundation, the special project, or his mother, Elisa Silco. For hours they sift through documents, opening boxes and folders, organizing piles by relevance. Sarah displays impressive concentration for someone so young, methodically going through paper after paper. It is Andre who finds the first significant clue, an internal memo dated 3 years ago, exactly when Elisa disappeared. The document mentions the transfer of 6 technicians from the central clinic to the facilities of the Novos Caminos Foundation. Among the names is Elisa Silco. "Sarah, I found something," he calls, feeling his heart race. "Your mother has been transferred to work at the foundation." The girl quickly approaches, her eyes scanning the document. "But she never worked at the clinic. You said yourself that she only had 1 interview." "Exactly. That's very strange." Continuing her search with renewed vigor, Sarah makes the next discovery. In a folder marked Project Rebirth, apparently the real name of the special project, she finds a list of patients with numerical codes in place of names. Attached to each code are detailed medical reports and photos. "Andre," she calls, her voice strangely controlled, "I think I found my mother." He walks over and sees what Sarah is looking at. A photograph of Elisa Silco, not as an employee but as a patient, lying in a hospital bed, apparently unconscious. The attached report describes positive responses to experimental treatment and mentions ideal reproductive potential. My God, Andre mutters, feeling sick. What was Matteo doing? Sarah is pale, but her eyes remain dry. He didn't hire her. He used her as a guinea pig. Her voice is a shaky whisper. Andre continues reading the report, each line increasing his horror. Sarah, this mentions a matched donor. It says the procedure was successful. And the implantation went as planned. He looks at the girl, a terrible suspicion forming in his mind. When is your birthday, Sarah? July 23rd, she replies, confused by the change of subject. Why? Andre quickly checks his phone, calculating dates. And you're 10 now, which means your mother got pregnant about 11 years ago. He goes back to his folders, frantically searching for documents from that time period. We need to find records from 11 years ago. Why? What does that have to do with her disappearance? Andre doesn't answer right away, immersed in his search. Finally, he finds an older folder marked Phase 1, Project Rebirth. Inside are documents detailing an experimental assisted fertility program using genetic material from selected donors. And there it is, on a list of donors. AR, 34 years old, ideal profile, maximum compatibility. AR Andre Ricci. The revelation hits him like a punch in the gut. He vaguely remembers donating sperm to the clinic's medical research in its early years. Matteo had told him it was for infertility studies, something that would help childless couples. He never imagined it would be used without his knowledge. In an experimental project. Sarah, he says slowly, his voice shaking slightly. I think I know why your mother said your father was too busy a man for you. The girl watches him, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. What do you mean? Andre hands her the documents. I believe I am your biological father. My genetic material was used without my knowledge in this project. He points to the initials. AR Andre Ricci, and the dates match. Sarah takes a step back as if shocked. No, that's impossible. But her eyes scan the documents, connecting the information. Your blood, Andre murmurs, watching her with new eyes, noticing subtle similarities he hadn't noticed before. The curve of her jaw, the shape of her eyes. Sarah, we need to do a DNA test. The girl is silent, processing the possibility that the man in front of her, a stranger just 2 days ago, could be her biological father. And not just a father who abandoned his family, but someone who didn't even know she existed. It doesn't change anything, she finally says, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. We still need to find my mother, and your daughter. Our daughter, Andre corrects gently. Carmen would be her half-sister. The weight of this revelation hangs between them like a thick cloud. 2 children related by blood, one growing, up in privilege, the other in the shadows of the city. Both now victims of the same man, Matteo Dubois, whose ambitions seemingly knew no ethical bounds. We need to go, Sarah says abruptly, gathering up the documents. If Matteo finds out we found this, Andre agrees. They select the most important documents and put them in his briefcase. In the elevator, going back up to reception, the silence between them is charged with unspoken questions and conflicting emotions. As they leave the building, Andre notices a dark car parked across the street. The driver seems to be watching them with interest. Sarah, he says quietly, don't look now, but I think we're being followed. The girl, with the experience of someone who has lived years alert to danger, does not turn her head, but mutters, Black car? Tinted windows? It's been there since we arrived. How do you know? I saw it when we came in. I always pay attention to stopped cars. There's a bitter wisdom in his voice. Andre guides Sarah to her own car, trying to appear casual. Let's go straight to the police station with these documents, he decides. No. Sarah grabs his arm. I told you there are cops involved. We don't know who to trust. As they discuss the next step, Andre's phone rings. The number on the screen makes him freeze. Matteo Dubois. Sarah, he whispers, showing her the screen. It's him. The phone keeps ringing. Mateo Dubois' name flashing on the screen like a silent threat. Sarah and Andre exchange a tense look. "Answer it," Sarah whispers. "Act normally, he can't know what we found out." Andre takes a deep breath and answers, "Mateo, what a surprise." "Andre, my friend," Mateo's voice sounds artificially cordial. "I heard you've been investigating some delicate matters regarding our former partnership." A shiver runs down Andre's spine. How did Mateo already know? "I don't know what you're talking about." A dry laugh echoes through the phone. "Let's cut to the chase. You're with the girl Sarah, aren't you? Elisa Silco's daughter." Andre feels his blood run cold but keeps his voice firm. "I am helping a homeless child, yes, anything against it." "Noble of you, always the philanthropist." Mateo's tone wavers between irony and veiled threat. "I'd like to talk to you in person about the girl, about your daughter Carmen. I have information that might interest you." "My daughter? What do you know about Carmen?" Andre can't hide the urgency in his voice. "It's not a matter for the phone. Let's meet at the Figuera restaurant at 8 p.m. Come alone." Mateo hangs up before Andre can answer. Sarah, who managed to hear part of the conversation, looks at Andre with apprehension. "It's a trap." "Probably," he agrees, looking back at the dark car still watching them, "but it might be our only chance to find out where Carmen is." He knows we're onto something. That car followed us to the clinic. Andre thinks quickly. "We need a safe place and help." He starts the car and drives away from the clinic, constantly checking the rearview mirror. Sarah looks around the place suspiciously. Peeling walls, a small unkempt garden, curtains drawn on all the windows. The interior of the house is surprisingly organized, with shelves full of books and walls covered in newspaper clippings, maps and photographs connected by colored wires, the typical investigation mural you see in crime films. "Why did you come to me after so long?" Helena asks as she pours water into plain glasses. "The last time we saw each other, you told me that I was exaggerating about the accusations against your friend Mateo." Andre lowers his head, visibly uncomfortable. "I was wrong, and now I need your help." He explains the whole situation. Carmen's disappearance, the meeting with Sarah, the discoveries about Project Rebirth, the suspicion that Sarah is his biological daughter, and Mateo's call suggesting a meeting. Helena listens to everything without interrupting, her face hardening with each new revelation. When Andre finishes, she looks at Sarah. "Did you see other children in this place? At the New Paths Foundation?" Sarah nods. "Many. Some temporary, others longer stays. Older children looked after the younger ones." "And you said you saw Carmen there recently?" "Yes. She arrived a few days ago. She was scared. She cried a lot." Helena stands up and walks over to her research board. She points to a photo, a white building with a well-kept garden, the same image Andre and Sarah saw on the Foundation's website. "I've been investigating the New Paths Foundation for 3 years, she reveals. "It started when a social worker came to me concerned about children who were disappearing from the system. Irregular adoptions, transfers without proper documentation, children who simply disappeared from the records." "And did you discover anything concrete?" asks Andre, approaching the mural. "Circumstantial evidence, mostly. Sufficient for me, insufficient for a judge, especially when the accused is someone with Mateo Dubois' power and connections." Helena shows other documents, photographs. They of children entering and leaving the Foundation, records of suspicious financial transfers, anonymous testimonies. "What exactly is Mateo doing?" Andre asks, his voice shaking with anger and fear. "Why kidnap children? Why experiment on women like Elisa?" Helena crosses her arms. "From what I can gather, there are at least 3 different operations under the Foundation's umbrella. First, what appears to be an illegal adoption scheme for wealthy families, many of them foreign who don't want to deal with the bureaucracy of the system. Children are sold," Sarah says quietly, confirming. "Second," Helena continues, "a program they call Capacidade, which essentially trains young people for domestic work and places them in family homes without any labor rights." "And the third?" asks Andre, fearing the answer. "The most obscure of all, Project Rebirth. From what I can gather, it's some kind of unauthorized medical research. Matteo has always been obsessed with genetics, with creating enhanced humans. Back when you were partners, he was already showing interest in that area, wasn't he? Andre nods, remembering conversations that at the time seemed like just the ambitious ramblings of a visionary scientist. He talked about curing genetic diseases before they're even born, but from there to using people as guinea pigs without their consent. Power corrupts, Andre, and Matteo has always believed that the ends justify the means. Helena turns her attention to Sarah. From what you've discovered today, it seems that Elisa was one of the unwilling participants in this experiment, and you, Sarah, may be the result. The girl remains silent, processing everything, her entire existence reduced to an experiment. What happened to the other women in the project? And to Elisa? Asks Andre. Helena hesitates. I don't know for sure. Some women have been seen leaving the foundation after giving birth. Others, she looks at Sarah, clearly reluctant to continue. Tell me, the girl insists. I need to know. There are records of patients being transferred to a clinic abroad, Montevideo specifically, supposedly for continued treatment. Sarah absorbs the information. A glimmer of hope appears in her eyes. So my mother could be alive. In the clinic in Montevideo. It's possible, Helena says cautiously, but I have no way of confirming it. Andre checks his watch. It's almost 7 p.m. I need to decide whether I'm going to meet Matteo at the restaurant. Helena shakes her head vehemently. It's an obvious trap. He wants to know exactly how much you've discovered and probably try to neutralize you. But he mentioned Carmen. He said he has information. Manipulation. He knows you would do anything for your daughter. Our daughter, Sarah corrects, surprising everyone, including herself. It is the first time she has verbally acknowledged the possibility that she is Andre's daughter. Carmen is my sister, and we are going to rescue her. Andre looks at the girl with renewed admiration. Despite everything she has been through, all the devastating revelations of the last few hours, she maintains an impressive determination. I have a proposal, Helena says after a few moments of reflection. You will go to the meeting with Matteo, but you will not go alone. I will go with you. He said to go alone, and that's exactly why he shouldn't. Besides, Matteo and I know each other well. He knows I've been investigating his activities for years. He might just walk away if he sees you. I doubt it. Matteo has too much ego to shy away from a confrontation. Helena smiles humorlessly. Besides, I've already contacted some trusted journalists. If something happens to us, a full dossier on the Foundation's activities will be released. Sarah looks from one adult to the other. And me? Where do I stand during this meeting? Helena. And Andre exchange glances. Leaving Sarah alone, it doesn't seem safe, but taking her to meet Matteo would be even more dangerous. I know someone I absolutely trust, Helena says finally. My assistant, Luisa. She can stay with Sarah while we're at the restaurant. No, Sarah protests. I'm not going to stay with a stranger while you decide my future. Sarah, Andre begins, but is interrupted. No, you don't understand. The girl's voice trembled slightly. I spent 3 years being pushed from one place to another without being able to decide anything about my own life. I'm not going to be left behind now. Helena studies the girl with new respect. She's right, Andre, we can't exclude her from this. But Matteo will recognize her. Not if she's undercover and at a distance. Luisa can stay with her at a separate table, watching everything. If something goes wrong, they leave immediately and alert the authorities. Andre doesn't look convinced, but Sarah is already nodding determinedly. I'll put on a different cap and coat. No one will recognize me. This is crazy, Andre mutters, but he knows he has no choice. Fine. But do you promise to stay away? Just watch? Sarah agrees, though something in her eyes suggests she has plans of her own. As they prepare for the meeting, Andre finds a private moment with Helena. If something happens to me, promise me you'll take care of Sarah, and that you'll find Carmen. Helena places a firm hand on his shoulder. Nothing will happen to you. We will face Matteo together, and we will end all of this today. At 7:45 p.m., the group arrives at the restaurant. Sarah, now wearing a cap that hides her hair and a coat that is too big for her, enters accompanied by Louisa, a woman in her 30s with an attentive gaze and precise movements that reveal some kind of professional training. At 8 p.m. sharp, Matteo Dubois makes his entrance. Tall, impeccably dressed, with grey hair that gives him an air of distinction, he moves like someone accustomed to having every door open before him. His frozen smile falters momentarily when he sees Helena next to André, but quickly recovers. "André, my dear," he says, approaching the table. His gaze fixes on Helena. "And Dr. Motta. What an unpleasant surprise." "The pleasure is all mine, Matteo," Helena replies with a sharp smile. Matteo sits, maintaining his composure. "I was clear about coming alone, André." "Change of plans," André replies. "Where is my daughter, Matteo?" Across the restaurant, Sarah watches the interaction intently, her eyes never leaving the face of Matteo Dubois, the man who, she now knows, destroyed her mother's life and perhaps created her own through scientific manipulation. A man who, for all she knows, may be as responsible for her existence as André himself. Matteo Dubois leans back in his chair, his expression calm like that of a chess player who has already predicted his opponent's every move. He watches André and Helena with a restrained smile, while a waiter places glasses of water on the table. "Your daughter is perfectly fine, André," he says finally. "In fact, she is receiving exceptional care." "Careful?" André leans forward, struggling to control his anger. "You kidnapped my daughter." Matteo raises an eyebrow. "Kidnapping is a very serious charge, and completely unfounded." "We have evidence, Matteo," Helena interjects. "Documents about Project Rebirth, witnesses who saw Carmen at the Foundation, records of suspicious transfers." "Documents without context, questionable witnesses, and perfectly legal financial transactions for a charity." Matteo dismisses the accusations with a dismissive gesture. "What you really have is speculation, Dr. Motta, as usual." Helena narrows her eyes. "What about experiments on women without consent? Elisa Silco, for example?" For the first time, something passes across Matteo's face, a brief flash of surprise quickly masked. "I don't know any Elisa Silco." "So how do you explain the records we found today?" André asks. "The documents from Project Rebirth that show you used my genetic material without permission to impregnate Elisa." Matteo's face darkens completely. He looks around, making sure no one is listening, then leans forward, lowering his voice. "You have no idea what you're talking about, André. We're working on advances that will revolutionize medicine, cures for genetic diseases, assisted reproduction methods that could help millions of couples. What they call experiments are, in fact, pioneering procedures. Without the consent of those involved," Helena adds, her voice sharp. "That's a crime, Matteo, a violation of basic human rights." "Consent?" Matteo chuckles lightly. "Such a relative concept. Elisa Silco signed several documents when she went through the selection process to work with us. She thought she was applying for a job, not being a guinea pig." André bangs on the table, drawing glances from nearby customers. Across the restaurant, Sarah is tense. Louisa places a hand on her arm, reminding her to remain discreet. "Where is Elisa now?" Helena asks, keeping her voice controlled. Matteo shrugs. "I have no idea. Her treatment was completed years ago. She received generous compensation and was released." "That's a lie," says André. "Sarah hasn't seen her mother in 3 years. If Elisa had been released, as you say, she would have returned to her daughter." "Ah, yes, Sarah." Matteo's smile widens. "The apple of Project Rebirth's eye. An absolute success. She's a child, not an experiment," André hisses, "and apparently my daughter. Technically, yes, biologically speaking." Matteo sounds almost proud. "An exceptional genetic combination. Your genetic material was of superior quality, André, and Elisa had perfect complementary characteristics." Helena watches Matteo with growing disgust. "You speak as if you were raising purebred animals, not human beings. It's science, Dr. Motta. Progress, human enhancement." He turns his attention to André. You should thank me. Thanks to Project Rebirth, you have 2 exceptional daughters. Carmen was also tested, you know. A remarkable IQ for her age. Impressive emotional resilience. Andre's blood runs cold. What did you do to Carmen? Nothing invasive, I assure you. Just cognitive tests, behavioral assessments. We needed to compare her development with Sarah's. One raised in privileged conditions, the other in challenging circumstances. A fascinating natural experiment. Andre feels nauseous. The idea that Carmen, his little girl, is being used as a guinea pig to compare herself to Sarah, the daughter he never knew he had, is unbearable. You're sick. Matteo, he manages to say through gritted teeth. I'm a visionary, Matteo corrects placidly. In 50 years, I'll be remembered as a pioneer of human genetic engineering. Helena leans forward. Unless you are remembered as a criminal, I have enough material to destroy you, Matteo. Testimonies, documents, financial records. I am just waiting for the right moment. Matteo smiles, but his eyes remain cold. I believe we have an impasse, then. You have suspicions. I have Carmen. Are you using my daughter as a shield? Andre asks in disbelief. Let's just say I'm ensuring my safety. Matteo takes a sip of water. Here's my offer. You get Carmen back, unharmed and well cared for. In exchange, you hand over all the documents you found today and sign a confidentiality agreement. And Sarah? Asks Helena. She also deserves to know what happened to her mother. Ah, yes, little Sarah. Matteo glances around briefly as if searching for her. I'm afraid I can't help with that. Elisa was just one participant among many. Her current whereabouts are not my responsibility. So let me get this straight, Andre says, his voice dangerously calm. You kidnapped my daughter. I find out I have another daughter that you created in a lab using my genetic material without consent, and now you want me to just take Carmen back and pretend nothing happened. Essentially, yes, Matteo confirms. That's the best deal you'll get. The alternative would be less pleasant for everyone. That's blackmail, says Helena. It's a negotiation, Matteo corrects. I have resources and contacts you can't even imagine, Dr. Motta. If this case were to go to court, who do you think would be believed? A respected doctor with decades of service to the community, or an obsessed former prosecutor who lost all credibility years ago? Helena pales slightly, but maintains her posture. I have proof, Matteo. And I have judges, he replies simply. On the other side of the restaurant, Sarah can't take it anymore. Despite Luisa's whispered protests, she stands up and walks determinedly towards the table. Matteo is the first to notice her, his eyes widening in genuine surprise. Sarah, he says, his tone changing to something more cautious. How unexpected. Doctor. Dubois, Sarah replies, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. You still remember me, I see. Matteo recovers quickly. Of course, how could I forget one of our most successful cases? Affair? Sarah repeats, her voice thick with contempt. Is that what you call me, an affair? Scientific terminology, dear. Nothing personal. He looks at Andre. I see you've already met. The family reunion I planned for later. Where is my mother? Sarah asks directly. Matteo sighs. As I was explaining to your biological father and Dr. Motta, I don't have that information. Bullshit. Sarah places her hands on the table, leaning forward to face Matteo. You keep it somewhere. You keep them all. Something passes across Matteo's face, a brief flash of irritation, maybe even fear. This is absurd. I've seen the files, Sarah continues, her voice gaining strength. In your office at the foundation, there's a 4th floor that doesn't show up on the official plans. That's where you keep the long-term participants, including my mother. Helena and Andre exchanged surprised looks. Sarah had never mentioned this before. Matteo forces a laugh. Impressive imagination, typical of abandoned children. They create elaborate fantasies about their parents. It's not fantasy. Sarah pulls a small metal object from her pocket, a flash drive. I copied the files, all of them. The records of the participants, the results of the experiments, the financial transfers, it's all here. Matteo's face drained of color. This is foundation property. You had no right. Right? Sarah laughs bitterly. You talk about rights after using women as human incubators, after tearing families apart, after turning children into products. André looks at his newly discovered daughter with admiration. This girl, who grew up in the most adverse circumstances, demonstrates extraordinary courage and intelligence. Sarah, Helena says softly, have you had these files with you all along? The girl nods. It was my insurance. I knew it would take more than my word for anyone to believe me. She looks at Mateo. I want my mother back, and I want Carmen to go back to her father, today. Mateo surveys the situation, calculating his options. Very well, let's negotiate then. The files for Carmen's return. And Elisa, André adds firmly. All the women you hold against their will. Impossible, Mateo replies quickly. Some medical conditions don't allow... What medical conditions? Helena interrupts. Side effects from your experiments? Mateo remains silent, confirming the suspicions with his silence. Here's what's going to happen, André says, taking control of the situation. Tonight you're going to take us to Carmen and Elisa. We're going to take them home. In exchange, we won't release the files for 48 hours, giving you time to leave the country or do whatever you want. And the other women? Asks Helena. They will all be released, André insists, with proper medical treatment for whatever conditions their experiments may have caused. Mateo studies the proposal, his eyes coldly calculating. You don't understand the implications. Some of these women have information that could compromise decades of research. I don't care about your research, André replies. I want my family back. Family, Mateo repeats with a slight smile. Interesting how you quickly adopted Sarah into your concept of family. The biological bond is stronger than we imagine. Isn't it? It's not about biology, André corrects. It's about responsibility, something you clearly don't understand. Mateo looks at the three in front of him, determined André, vigilant Helena, defiant Sarah, and seems to come to a decision. Very well. Elisa and Carmen in exchange for the files and a 48-hour head start. He stands. Meet me at the foundation at 11 p.m. Enter through the back. There's a service door near the generator. Come alone. He looks specifically at Helena. No police. No journalists. How do we know it's not a trap? Asks Helena. They don't know, Mateo replies simply, but it's their only chance. With that, he leaves the table, calmly walking towards the exit as if he had just concluded a routine business meeting. When Mateo leaves, Sarah finally allows herself to sit down, her legs shaking with adrenaline. You were amazing, André says, looking at her with new respect. I agree, Helena adds, but it was also extremely risky, and why didn't you tell us before about the files you had? I needed to make sure I could trust you, Sarah answers honestly. I spent 3 years learning not to trust adults. What about the secret 4th floor? Asks André. Is it real? Sarah nods. Absolutely. Accessed by a keyed elevator. I went there once when one of the guards dropped his keycard. I saw women in rooms that looked like hospitals. They were awake, some reading or watching TV, but they seemed empty, like they weren't really there. Drugs, Helena mutters, probably keeping them sedated. Did you see your mother there? André asks gently. Sarah looks down. I didn't have time to search all the rooms. I almost got caught, but I'm sure she's there. She has to be. Louisa, who had joined them, looked at Helena with concern. You're not really considering going there at night, are you? It's clearly a trap. Maybe, Helena agrees, but it might also be our only chance to rescue Carmen and Elisa and to get physical evidence of Mateo's crimes. What if he's already removing evidence, moving the women to another location? Asks André, suddenly alarmed. It's a possibility, Helena admits. That's why we need a plan B. The 4 of them lean over the table, discussing in low voices. The restaurant around them continues its normal routine, waiters serving elaborate dishes, customers chatting animatedly, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding at the table in the corner. As they work out their plan, a A silent resolve grows between them. Tonight, somehow, everything will be resolved. Outside the restaurant, in his luxury car, Matteo Dubois makes a phone call. "Get everything ready," he instructs. "We'll have visitors tonight, and arrange for the immediate transfer of the special patients to the secondary facility, starting with Elisa Silco." Night falls over the capital like a heavy veil. Thick clouds hide the stars, and a light drizzle begins to fall, turning the city lights into hazy blurs. Helena's car slowly advances through the southern suburbs, approaching the industrial area, where the Novos Caminos Foundation is located. "I still think we should have called the police," Luisa mutters from the back seat. "And risk Matteo being warned by his contacts?" Helena asks, maneuvering the vehicle through a narrow street. "We can't trust anyone in the system until we have Carmen and Elisa safe." In the passenger seat, Andre is tense, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. Beside him, Sarah watches the dark landscape through the window, her face a mask of determination mixed with fear. "Repeating the plan," says Helena, parking the car 2 blocks away from their destination. "Andre and I will enter through the back door, as Matteo indicated. Sarah and Luisa will stay in the car as support, with their cell phones ready to call the authorities if we are not back within the hour." "No," Sarah says firmly. "I need to go too. I know the building inside out, and if my mother is there, I'll recognize her immediately." Andre looks at the girl, his interior divided between protection and respect for her autonomy. "It's very dangerous, Sarah." "My whole life has been dangerous," she replies, "and this is my mother, my family. I have a right to be there." Helena and Andre exchange glances. Finally, he nods. "Okay, but you stay between us the whole time, and if we tell you to run, you run, without question." Sarah agrees. "And if something goes wrong, the flash drive with the files is with Luisa. She knows what to do." Andre, Helena, and Sarah arrived close to the Novos Caminos Foundation, while Luisa remained in the car, ready to call the police if they did not return within an hour. Andre and Helena hesitated to allow Sarah to accompany them, but they gave in to the girl's determination. "You stay between us the whole time," warned Andre. Cautiously, they crossed the street, wet with light drizzle. Sarah pointed to a side entrance used by employees. The door was unlocked, as Matteo had promised. The interior of the building was cold and silent, with emergency lights illuminating empty hallways. They moved forward carefully, noticing the absence of security guards. "That's not right," Helena muttered. They reached the service elevator. To reach the 4th floor, they would need an access card, but before they could think of alternatives, the elevator opened by itself. They looked at each other. They had no choice. During the climb, Helena discreetly checked the locator hidden in her pocket. If something went wrong, Luisa would know where they were. The elevator stopped on the 3rd floor. The doors opened onto a deserted administrative office. Matteo emerged from the shadows. "I'm glad you came," he said with a calculating smile. Andre took a step forward. "Where is my daughter?" "And my mother," Sarah added, tense. Matteo gestured for them to follow him. "Let's talk. There are things that need to be said before you see her." Andre watches the scene with a broken heart. Guilt floods him, although he didn't know it. His genetic material was part of this project that destroyed Elisa's life. That stole Sarah's mother. "This is cruel, Matteo," Helena says, her voice low but intense. "Keeping her here, in this state. Why didn't you inform the family? Why didn't you allow Sarah to visit her?" "It was necessary to maintain isolation for adequate control of the variables," Matteo responds clinically. "And how could Sarah care for a woman in this state? She herself was just a child." "So you just decided it was best to separate the two? Leave Sarah believing her mother had disappeared?" Andre can barely contain his anger. Matteo shrugs. Difficult decisions are part of revolutionary science. Sarah stands up, wiping away her tears. "We're taking her home. Today." "Unfortunately, that would not be advisable," Matteo replies. "Elisa needs constant medical supervision, regular medications, therapy." "We'll take care of it," says Andre firmly, "with real, ethical doctors, not your scientists." Matteo watches the 3 of them for a moment, then nods slowly. "If You insist, but I can't be held responsible for the consequences. Where's Carmen? Asks Andre, remembering the other part of the deal. Ah, yes, Carmen. Matteo glanced at his watch. She should be here any minute. I had her brought in from the children's ward. Children's ward? Helena frowns. How many children do you keep here, Matteo? Only the special ones. Those with exceptional genetic potential like Carmen, like Sarah was. Sarah reluctantly steps away from her mother, joining Andre and Helena. What are you planning, Matteo? This is too easy. A thin smile appears on the doctor's lips. Always perceptive, Sarah, just as we expected from you. He looks at Andre. She really inherited your intelligence. At that moment, the sound of footsteps is heard in the hallway. The door opens, and a woman in a nurse's uniform enters, holding the hand of a small girl. Carmen! Andre steps forward, falling to his knees before his daughter. Carmen looks at her father with a mixture of relief and confusion. Daddy, did you come to get me? Yes, Princess, I'm here. Let's go home. The girl runs into her father's arms, who hugs her tightly, as if he fears she might disappear again at any moment. Sarah watches the reunion with mixed emotions. Joy for the father and sister she barely knows, pain for the mother she found, only to discover that, in a way, she had already lost her. Helena, ever vigilant, notices that Matteo is now near a panel on the wall, something that looks like an alarm or communication system. Good, Matteo says, his hand hovering over the panel. You have what you came for. Now the files, please. Sarah looks at Helena, who gives a slight nod. The girl takes the flash drive out of her pocket and hands it to Matteo. All the files I copied are here, she says, as promised. Matteo takes the device, examining it carefully before tucking it into his pocket. Excellent. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a flight to catch. Wait, Helena says, blocking his path. There are 16 other women on this floor, and how many children in the so-called children's ward? We can't just leave them. Matteo sighs impatiently. Dr. Motta, always the idealist. Our agreement was specific. Elisa and Carmen in exchange for the files. The other participants are not part of the negotiation. They're not participants. Andre corrects, still hugging Carmen protectively. They're people, with families who have probably been looking for them for years, just like Sarah was looking for Elisa. The question is irrelevant, Matteo replies coldly. In a few hours, this facility will be completely empty. All participants will be transferred to a new location. Sarah approaches her mother, holding her shaking hand. Come on, Mum. We're going home. Elisa stands up with difficulty, her movements unsteady. She looks around the room in confusion, as if she doesn't fully understand what is happening. Dr. Dubois, she murmurs. Is it time for medicine? No, Elisa, Sarah replies softly. It's time to go, for good. Helena watches Matteo closely. What was your plan, Matteo? To let us take Elisa and Carmen while you escape with all the other victims. Start over somewhere else as if nothing happened. Pragmatism, Dr. Motta. Research is too valuable to be abandoned for temporary moral sensibilities. Moral sensibilities? Andre almost laughs in indignation. You destroyed lives, you tore families apart. You used people as guinea pigs without their consent. In the name of progress, Matteo replies, unfazed. In 50 years, when techniques based on our research are saving millions of lives, no one will question the methods. That's what all the monsters in history say to justify their atrocities, Helena observes. Matteo shrugs, indifferent to the accusation. If you'll excuse me. He tries to walk past them toward the door. Not so fast, Helena says, blocking him again. I believe the police would like to talk to you first. The doctor smiles. The police? Do you really think any police officer will believe your accusations against me? I have friends at every level of the system. Judges, prosecutors. May I remind you that your own career ended when you tried to investigate me years ago. This time it's different, Helena replies. We have evidence, we have witnesses. And most importantly, she smiles, we have a live feed. Matteo freezes. What? Helena pulls out of her pocket what appears to be a simple tracking device, but is actually a miniaturized transmission device. Every word of this conversation is being transmitted to journalists from 3 different outlets, including your lovely confessions about participants, side effects, and facility transfers. Matteo's face contorts in fury. You had no right. Actually, I did, Helena interrupts. The city has a specific law allowing recordings when there is suspicion of crimes against vulnerable people, and oh, hello to all the viewers watching. Now! She waves at the device with a wry smile. The bedroom door suddenly opens. Luisa enters, followed by 2 men with visible federal police identification. Dr. Matteo Dubois, says one of the officers, you are being held for investigation on multiple charges of kidnapping, false imprisonment, illegal human experimentation and human trafficking. Matteo Palles looking accusingly at Helena. This isn't over. I have resources you can't even imagine, influence in places you can't reach. Perhaps, Helena concedes. But now the whole world is watching. Your carefully constructed reputation is crumbling in real time, and even your most powerful friends will think twice before being publicly associated with you. As the police handcuff Matteo, more officers enter the floor, beginning to check the other rooms, finding the women in similar conditions to Elisa, all victims of the doctor's experiments. Andre approaches Sarah, who is still holding her mother's hand. Carmen, realizing the situation, timidly goes to them. Who is she, Daddy? Asks the girl, looking curiously at Sarah and Elisa. Andre kneels down to Carmen's level. This is Sarah, and this is her mother, Elisa. Sarah is, well, she's your sister. Carmen's eyes widen. My sister? Like Julia from my class who has an older sister? Yes, exactly like that. Andre smiles, relieved by Carmen's innocent acceptance. Sarah looks at her younger sister with a mix of curiosity and instinctive protectiveness. Hi, Carmen, I've been looking for you. Carmen smiles shyly. Are you going to live with us now, and your mother too? Sarah looks at Andre, the question hanging in the air between them. It is Elisa who surprises everyone, speaking more clearly than before. Family together. It's good. A doctor accompanying the officers approaches Elisa, examining her briefly. She will require specialized care. The condition appears serious, but with proper treatment, there may be some improvement in cognitive function. We will do whatever it takes, says Andre with determination. All expenses, the best specialists. Sarah looks at him in surprise. Why? You barely know us. Because it's the right thing to do, he replies simply. And because no matter how it all happened, we're a family now. If you want us to be, of course. Sarah looks at the man she has just discovered is her biological father. This successful businessman who, in a matter of days, has seen his perfect world crumble and rebuild itself in completely unexpected ways. She sees sincerity in his eyes, a genuine desire to do what is right even when it is difficult. We need to talk about this a lot, she replies cautiously. It's not that simple. I know, agrees Andre. It will be a process, day by day. Carmen, with the simple wisdom of children, takes Sarah's hand. I've always wanted a big sister. Sarah can't help but smile a little. I've always wanted a sister, period. While Matteo is taken away by the police, protesting his rights and connections, Helena approaches the now expanded family nucleus. We'll need official statements from all of you, she says, especially Sarah. Her experience at the foundation will be crucial to the case. What about the other children, asks Sarah, the ones in the children's ward? They are being treated now, Helena replies. Most seem to be in good physical condition, at least. The work of family reunification will be complex, but possible in most cases. Elisa, who has been watching the movement with slightly more focused eyes, squeezes Sarah's hand. You found your way back. Sarah hugs her mother, silent tears streaming down her face. Yes, Mom, and I found you too, finally. As they leave the building, the night is already far advanced. The drizzle has stopped, and a few stars manage to shine through the dispersing clouds. Police cars, ambulances, and press cars surround the foundation. their flashing lights creating a kaleidoscope of colors against the white walls. Carmen, exhausted but happy, falls asleep in her father's arms as they wait for permission to leave the scene. Sarah remains next to Elisa, who has been placed on a stretcher, but refuses to get into the ambulance until her daughter confirms that she will accompany her. "What happens now?" Sarah asks Andre, her voice revealing all the accumulated fatigue of the last few days, of the last few years. "Now we rest," he replies softly, "and tomorrow we begin to rebuild. Together, if you wish." 6 months have passed since the night the New Paths Foundation was exposed to the public. The Dubois case, as it became known in the media, became one of the biggest medical and social scandals in the country's recent history. 17 women were rescued from the secret 4th floor, 23 children were found in the children's ward, and documents revealed hundreds of victims over the years. Families separated, children missing, unethical experiments in the name of scientific progress. Matteo Dubois is awaiting trial, having had all his habeas corpus petitions denied. Several of his collaborators, including doctors, nurses, and administrative staff at the foundation, have entered into plea bargain agreements revealing the extent of the network that operated under the guise of charity. Politicians and judges who protected the scheme are under investigation, some of whom have already been removed from office. For Andre Ricci, the months following the scandal have brought a complete transformation in his life. The luxurious apartment, previously impeccably organized and somewhat impersonal, now vibrates with a new energy. A quick renovation has created 2 new bedrooms, one for Sarah and one for Elisa, who requires special care. Sarah enters the kitchen, her hair now more neatly cut, wearing an impeccable school uniform. At 11 years old, she maintains a posture that mixes the forced maturity of her previous life with growing traces of a recovered childhood. "Good morning," she says, sitting down at the table. "Mom is still sleeping. The new medicine makes her sleepy in the morning." "Okay," Andre replies, placing a plate of pancakes in front of her. "Dr. Carmen said that sleep is important for neurological recovery. And today is Saturday. It's okay to let you rest more." Sarah agrees, starting to eat. After a few months of initial distrust, she finally seems at ease in this new family arrangement. Enrolled in a good school, she is excelling academically, quickly making up for the years of formal education she lost. "Helena called last night," Andre says, pouring Carmen some juice. "She said 3 more children were reunited with their birth families this week." "Which ones?" asks Sarah immediately. "Mateus, Juliana, and little Anna." Sarah smiles, genuinely happy. Anna is only 3 years old. She won't remember any of this when she grows up. "It's the best we can hope for some of them," agrees Andre, "that this experience becomes just a distant memory, or that it doesn't become a memory at all." Carmen looks between her father and older sister, always attentive to the adults' conversations. "What about the children who haven't found their families?" Andre and Sarah exchange glances. Carmen, despite being small, understands more than they would like about the traumatic events that connected their lives. "Some are with foster families now," Sarah explains gently. "Others are still in foster homes while the search continues." "What were you like before you met us?" Carmen asks, her face lighting up with the understanding of the connection. "Something like that," Sarah confirms. "But I was on the streets, remember? I was tough." She flexes her arms in an exaggerated display of muscles that makes Carmen laugh. The sound of slow footsteps in the hallway announces Elisa's arrival. Leaning on a cane, she enters the kitchen with a sleepy smile. Her hair, now completely grey despite her being only 39 years old, is tied back in a simple bun. There is a sparkle in her eyes that grows brighter every week, small signs that the person she once was is slowly finding her way back. "Good morning, family," she says, the words coming out with deliberate care. Her speech therapist has been working diligently with her to regain fluent speech. "Mom," Sarah gets up to help her sit up. "Did you sleep well?" "Very well. I dreamed." She pauses, searching for the words. "I dreamed of flowers, a big garden. Maybe it's a memory from your work as a gardener," Andre suggests, pouring her a cup of tea. Over the past few months with intensive therapy, fragments of Elisa's memory have been returning, especially from her life before the foundation. Maybe, Elisa agrees, her gaze momentarily lost in memory. It was beautiful. The relationship between Andre and Elisa is a delicate balance. They are not a couple, never have been, but they are united by Sarah and the shared responsibility Andre feels for what happened. He provided the best care, a team of caregivers, and opened the doors of his home to mother and daughter. Over time, they developed a mutual respect and even a cautious friendship. We have an appointment with the neuropsychologist at 2, Andre recalls, and then I thought we could all go to the park if you're up for it. Elisa nods, excited at the prospect. The park is nice, sun, fresh air. And can I roller skate? Carmen asks hopefully. If Sarah goes with you, Andre replies, winking at his eldest daughter. Sarah smiles. She has discovered that she enjoys the role of big sister, protecting Carmen, teaching her things, sharing secrets and laughter. It's like getting back a bit of the childhood that was stolen from her. The doorbell rings, announcing the arrival of Helena Motta. The past few months have transformed the former prosecutor into a reluctant celebrity, the face of justice in the Dubois case. She has used her sudden fame to push for legal reforms related to protecting vulnerable children and combating human trafficking. Andre opens the door. Helena enters, carrying a briefcase and a bouquet of flowers. Good morning. To the most interesting family in the capital, she jokes, handing the flowers to Elisa and briefly hugging the children. Anything new? Asks Andre, offering coffee. Helena accepts the cup and sits at the table. Several, actually. The first, Matteo's trial has been set for 2 months from now. The accusation is solid, especially with the accomplices' statements. He still denies everything? Asks Sarah. Down to the last grey hair, Helena confirms. He insists it was all legitimate research, that the women consented, that the children were being protected. She shakes her head. But science is on our side. Analysis of the substances he administered to the women proves they were addictive and neurologically damaging. There is no defense. Elisa stares into her teacup, a shadow passing over her face. He thought we were disposable, less human. Helena reaches out, gently touching Elisa's arm, and we're proving him wrong. She opens the folder she brought. The second piece of news, the Family Restoration Foundation, has been officially approved. The government has frozen all of Matteo's assets and the old foundation's assets, and the judge has ordered that they be reverted to this new project. Our foundation? Asks Andre, surprised. Our foundation, Helena confirms with a smile. You as the primary funder, me as the executive director, and several trauma and family reunification experts on the board. Sarah watches the adults with interest. Over the past few weeks, she has heard snippets of conversation about this project, an organization dedicated to locating victims of human trafficking, reuniting separated families, and providing psychological and financial support to rebuild lives. Does this mean we're going to help other kids like me? She asks. Exactly, Helena replies, and women like your mother, and families like yours. Carmen, who had been listening intently as she drew, looks up. Can I help too? Can I be a friend to the children who find their families? Andre smiles at his youngest daughter, touched by her natural empathy. Of course you can, Princess. That reminds me, Helena says, pulling an envelope from her briefcase. The third piece of news. She hands it to Sarah. This is for you. Sarah opens the envelope with curiosity. Inside is an official document with the coat of arms of the Republic. Her eyes scan the text, widening in surprise. It's my birth certificate. New. Rectified, Helena corrects. Now officially recognizing Andre as your biological father, with all the legal rights and protections that entails. Sarah looks at the paper with conflicting emotions. On the one hand, it represents the truth of her origins, however strange they may be. On the other, it formalizes a connection with a man who was a stranger until just a few months ago. Andre watches her reaction with contained anxiety. Only if you want to, Sarah. Nothing changes in your day-to-day life if you're not comfortable with it. It's strange, Sarah admits honestly. For so long I was just Sarah Silko, Elisa's daughter. Now I'm Sarah Silko Ricci. She tests the name, feeling its weight. You will always be your mother's daughter, Andre says gently. That will never change. Elisa is the one who raised you, who loved you from the very first moment. I am just a late addition. Elisa reaches out a trembling hand to touch Andre's arm. You are a good man. You take care of my girl. When I couldn't. Andre's eyes fill with unshed tears. Elisa's implicit forgiveness, her generosity despite everything she has suffered, moves him deeply. Sarah looks between her mother and her newly recognized father, and then at Carmen, who watches the scene with wide, attentive eyes. This is her family now, makeshift, imperfect, built on the ruins of a tragedy, but still real and present. I like the name, she says finally, a small smile forming. Sarah Silko Ricci, it's got power. Carmen applauds. Now we're officially sisters, I can tell everyone at school. Everyone laughs, the tension of the moment dissipating. Helena gestures to the folder. There's one more thing. The latest news, and perhaps the most important for Elisa. She pulls out a medical document. I've spoken to international experts about Elisa's case. There is an experimental treatment, ironically in Montreal, that has shown promising results in similar cases of drug-induced neurological damage. Sarah's eyes lit up with hope. Can you help my mother get better? Help her regain her memory. There are no guarantees, Helena cautions, but the preliminary results are encouraging. In some cases, there has been significant recovery of cognitive function and memory. Elisa listens with focused attention, something that has become more frequent in recent weeks, periods of clarity cutting through the mental fog. I want to try, she says, her words firmer and more decisive than usual. I want to remember everything. Are you sure, Mom? Sarah asks, worried. Some memories can be difficult. Elisa holds her daughter's hand. To rebuild. I need to remember, even what hurts. Andre nods respectfully. I'll take care of everything. We can go to Montreal as soon as the doctors give the okay. I'll go with you, Sarah declares immediately. What about me? Carmen asks, worried about being left behind. You too, Princess, Andre assures. We're family, we're going together. Helena watches the scene with satisfaction. After breakfast, while Elisa relaxes on the balcony in the morning sun, Andre, Helena and Sarah talk in the living room about the foundation's next steps. Carmen joins Sarah's mother on the balcony, carrying her sketchbook. Can I draw you? The girl asks shyly. Elisa smiles. I would like very much. Carmen begins to draw, her tongue poking out of the corner of her mouth in concentration. Sarah told me you were a gardener, that you knew the names of all the flowers and plants. Yes, Elisa agrees, a Carmen memory surfacing. I worked in a nursery. Flowers were my friends. When you get better, can we make a garden here? On the porch? Carmen asks hopefully. Daddy said we can have pots and everything. I'd love to, Elisa replies, her voice firmer. I'll teach you, and Sarah. In the living room, Sarah watches through the glass door as her mother and younger sister interact. Something loosens in her chest, a knot of tension she's carried for so long she barely notices its presence. She's getting better, he tells Andre. Every day I see more of my mother coming back. Andre follows her gaze. She is an extraordinary woman, strong like her daughter. Helena, always practical, returns to the subject of the foundation. We will need a physical space. I was thinking of the old building on Alameda Santos, the one your company used as an archive. While the adults discuss logistical details, Sarah continues to observe Carmen and her mother. Carmen now shows the drawing to Elisa, who smiles and points out details, probably suggesting improvements. There is a naturalness to the interaction that seemed impossible months ago. Sarah thinks about everything that happened since that afternoon in the square, when she approached a desperate stranger with a photo of her missing daughter. How could she have imagined that this man was her biological father? That the search for her mother and the sister she didn't even know she had would unite them into a makeshift but genuine family. Life has a strange sense of humor, Sarah reflects. Sometimes the greatest losses lead us to the most important encounters. When Andre goes to the kitchen to get more coffee, Sarah approaches Helena. "Thank you," she says simply, "for believing in me when I first met you, for never giving up on the case even when everyone said you were obsessed." Helena smiles. "I always know a fighter when I see one, Sarah. You remind me so much of myself at your age. Determined, tireless. Do you think we can do it? Reunite all the families?" "Some yes, some maybe no," Helena answers honestly. "But every reunion is a victory. Every child who finds their place, every father who gets his son back, every mother who holds her baby again, it all matters." Sarah sits, contemplating the future that unfolds before her. School, family, work at the foundation. A path so different from what she imagined when she lived on the streets, surviving day after day. What about Matteo? If he is convicted, how long will he be in prison? "Probably for the rest of my life," Helena replies. "The charges are serious and numerous, but the most important thing is not the punishment, but rather preventing something like this from happening again." "Sarah," Carmen says quietly, as if sharing a secret, "I think Mommy Elisa is liking Daddy." Sarah arches her eyebrows in surprise. "Why do you think that?" She smiles differently when he's around. "And this morning I saw her fixing her hair when he came onto the porch." Sarah considers the observation. It's true that in the last few months, as Elisa's condition has improved, she and Andre have developed a comfortable friendship. Conversations about plants, music, even about Sarah as a child. Small moments of connection that would go unnoticed by most, but not by the watchful eyes of a child. Would it be that strange? Carmen asks, tilting her head. Having a mother and father in the same house like other children? Sarah ties the last lace on her skates, buying time to gather her thoughts. It's not that simple, Carmen. They barely know each other, and Mom has been through a lot. But they could get to know each other better, Carmen insists with the straightforward logic of children. People meet and fall in love all the time, in stories and in real life too. Sarah couldn't help but smile at the simplicity with which her sister saw the world. Maybe, but that's something only they can decide. We shouldn't interfere. Carmen makes an expression of exaggerated innocence. I would never interfere. I'll just leave my drawing of our family all together right where they can see it, and maybe suggest a candlelit dinner. And maybe... Carmen, Sarah laughs, shaking her head. No plans, got it. Let things happen naturally. Okay, Carmen agrees, though her tone suggests otherwise. But if it does happen, I'll say I was the first to notice. Andre calls the girls from the door, and they join him and Elisa for the walk to the park. The autumn Sunday is perfect. Clear skies, mild temperatures, golden leaves decorating the paths. In the car, Elisa looks out the window with a serene expression, taking in the landscapes that have been denied to her for so long. At the park, Carmen immediately shows off her newfound rollerblading skills, with Sarah by her side to keep her from falling. Andre pushes Elisa's wheelchair, used for longer distances when a cane isn't enough, along shaded paths, pointing out flowers and trees he knows she'll appreciate. When they stop near a small lake, where ducks swim carefreely, Elisa watches, her daughters from a distance, Sarah patient and protective, Carmen enthusiastic and determined. They're beautiful. Together, Elisa says, her voice stronger after her morning speech therapy session. As they should, always have been. Andre nods, following her gaze. Sarah is incredible, the way she's adapted to everything, how she takes care of Carmen, as if she's always been her sister. She always wanted a big family, Elisa reveals, a fragment of memory emerging. She asked for a little brother for Christmas, Andre smiles at the irony, and she had a sister all along without knowing it. Fate is strange, Elisa observes, then hesitantly she adds, thank you for taking care of her, of us. No need to thank me, Andre replies sincerely. Sarah is my daughter as much as Carmen is, and you... He hesitates, searching for the right words. Your family now. Elisa looks at him with a clarity that becomes more and more frequent. Family, I'm still getting used to it. All of us, admits Andre. It's an unusual arrangement, to be sure, but it works, doesn't it? Elisa smiles. It works. Better than I expected. The girls return. Carmen exhausted but beaming after finally mastering a difficult turn. Sarah proud of her sister's achievements. They sit on a nearby bench, sharing a bottle of water and chatting animatedly. Matteo wanted to create superhumans, Elisa says suddenly, her voice firmer as she pronounces the name of the man who destroyed so many lives. But he didn't understand. What really matters? What is it? Asks Andre. This. She gestures to the girls, to themselves, to the park around them. Ordinary life, ordinary love, the extraordinary in the everyday. Andre feels a lump in his throat. The wisdom in Elisa's words, despite all the damage she has suffered, moves him deeply. You are right, absolutely right. When Carmen comes running to show her a drawing she has made in the little notebook she always carries, Elisa greets her with genuine enthusiasm, pointing out details, praising specific features. Carmen flourishes under this attention, this artistic guidance that is new in her life. Sarah approaches Andre, observing the interaction. Carmen is becoming quite an artist, he comments. Like Mom, Sarah replies. Did you know that before? Anything. Before that place, Mom was a botanical illustrator. She drew plants for catalogues and science books. Andre looks surprised. No, I didn't know. Did she remember that recently? Sarah nods. Last night. We found one of her old drawings in a box her neighbor had put away when they thought she was missing. She pauses. It was an orchid, so detailed it looked real. Maybe that she could go back to drawing, Andre suggests, as therapy for starters. Sarah smiles. I've already thought about it. I bought a special sketchbook and pencils to give her as a gift. Late in the afternoon, after a snack at a cafe in the park, they return home. Carmen falls asleep in the car, exhausted from the physical activity. Sarah looks out the window, thoughtful, while Elisa rests with her eyes closed but not completely asleep. Andre drives in comfortable silence, occasionally glancing in the rearview mirror at the image he never imagined would be his reality. 2 daughters, a woman whose life has intertwined with his in unimaginable ways.